Hi guys, and welcome to this video. In this video, I would like to talk about something that I call political OCD, which is an OCD subtype that I suffered from, and it was kind of crazy, to be honest. So part of why I created this channel is that I believe that there are many subtypes of OCD that are not covered yet, and I think, for example, No OCD does a really good job with that, and they cover many of these themes that are lesser known. But political OCD is one of those themes. Political OCD, basically the obsession is with trying to prove your political point to someone else. Not just that, but you're also obsessed with reading news, you're obsessed with, just politics in general, and you usually have a very extreme viewpoint. Now, there's only one client and me, so there are only two people that I found with this type of OCD, but I think it's important to have awareness of it because then you can be like, oh, this is OCD as well. So obsession is, trying to prove your point and having this, obsessive repetitive thoughts about politics. And compulsions are writing posts on social media. That's a lot of what I did. I used to write all the time on social media, literally all the time. And when someone replied to me, I would write like a 5-minute comment. It, was supposed to look effortless, like a 5-minute comment. But on that short comment, it could be in like one paragraph, I could spend even like 2 hours because I had to make sure the person will totally get. I had to have an absolute certainty that I can convince them or show them what they don't see, which is usually the thing. With political OCD, you're absolutely sure that the other party doesn't see what you see. You're absolutely sure of that, and so you want to share your point across from multiple angles in a way where you get that certainty that you're like, oh, and maybe they still don't get it. I see it in a comment, so let me try this argument, or let me try that argument, or that one, and they will finally get it. And then you finally feel a bit of certainty, but not for long. Then of course you're like, oh, they're so long. And so you're right, and that's the first compulsion. Now, you may not do all of those compulsions, just like with any subtype, but you may see yourself in some of them. Secondary, you always are like a hawk when it comes to politics. You're always like laser sharp when it comes to studying your politics, because then you argue with it, so you gotta be certain that you completely understand it. Thirdly, you sometimes believe almost in like conspiracy, so your political viewpoint is unchallenged and it can go to an extreme. Now, you may be like, hey, that's the whole United States right now, and you would be kind of right. I think they don't have OCD, of course, but you can see that same tendency just not being played out to the same extreme as with political OCD. Now, you may be like, well, but it's pretty extreme even now. But with political OCD, most people who don't have OCD diagnosis, they wouldn't spend literally, I don't know, I sometimes spend like 3 hours making these posts, so that's what's political OCD. Now, thirdly, or was it fourthly? I think this is thirdly, you're unable to see other parties' point of view, kind of. Not only you're unable, but you don't want to, okay? So we will talk later on about what the great exposures may be, and you may already guess, but so you're unable, you don't want to, you're like, no, that's not it. Then we got another compulsion, which is you trying to persuade people in person, face to face. And one of my, that client of mine who had what at least we coined as political OCD, and she agreed with it and she found herself in it. She did that, so many times with other people. She had a very established point about global warming, and she had to make sure that everyone will be on the same line. And if she felt the uncertainty about it, if she felt uncertain that maybe they still don't get it, and maybe they still won't be, eco-friendly to her standard and stuff, she just started hammering on these people, and from multiple angles. She tried that way, then she tried to say this argument, and this, and the people were like, hey, I don't want to hear about this anymore. I got a different, no, but you don't understand. There's this one more point, which repelled the people. So it had the very opposite effect of what she wanted to achieve, because one of those people then told her that, hey, she you're crazy, she's crazy. And they started talking about her that she's crazy. So that's what can happen there. Now, I had this, political OCD with cannabis, for example. I hated cannabis, hated people who did it. Now, you may say, well, that's not politics, but under the politics OCD umbrella, I would put even your world's opinions, life's opinions about how other people should live, about what should be established as law, as unlaw. So these are the compulsions here. Now, when it comes to exposures, you maybe have guessed it, you gotta expose yourself to the other party's opinions, read about them, study them, buy a book. If you don't like global warming, buy a book about global warming. If you don't like conservatism, buy a book about conservatism. Go on Google, Reddit conservatives, join these communities. Really be with open mind of a child. It will be super hard to you. You will feel anxiety, which is great. That means you're exposing yourself. That means you're working against your fear. And expose yourself to these other opinions, but really with an open mind of a toddler almost. Be like, oh, I want to understand this. Or not a toddler. Toddler wouldn't understand global warming, for example. But open your eyes to it, and really try to have an open mind. For me, what it did, I ended up somewhere in here. I'm very in the middle of a political spectrum. I can take opinions of both sides. If everyone would do this, the world would be a better place. Not just us OCD people, if everyone would do this. And it's great, man. I have so much less stress, so much less worry, so much less, here's my opinion. I can really take opinions from both sides. It balanced me out as a personality even. So that's a really good exposure. Another one is fight your urge to tell someone your political opinion. Oh, this is what no, you shouldn't smoke weed. Fight it, don't do it, okay? Restrain yourself from it. It's like a drug to you. You're seeking certainty there that, you will spread your political opinion. Usually, the narrative that OCD will serve you is, well, but you don't say it, well, then the world will end up in hell, because that person wouldn't know it, and maybe they could spread that message to other people, and then no one will know about it, and then the world will end, or it will just lead to catastrophe, and you don't stop this. You can stop it by telling your opinion now, and you don't. Be aware of these thoughts and don't give in. No, I will keep my opinion to myself. I have it as my personal rule almost now. I rarely ever discuss politics, almost never, because it was very compulsive for me. Now I'm kind of getting into an area where I can discuss it again, but not extremely. So that was the second exposure. Third one, don't write posts, don't share your opinion online, and don't argue online with people, okay, about politics and your viewpoints. If you have political OCD, if you find yourself in these in the ways that I'm describing this, try not to do that, try to restrain, because it can be compulsive for you very quickly. You may seek certainty there, again, about, the world being the right place by you spreading your message, your viewpoint on politics. Now, that would be 3 exposures that come to my mind. You can come with some new exposures yourself. Fourth one could be that you could discuss your opinions with someone without projecting your opinion so much, and really listening to someone with a different opinion. Almost playing dumb, almost being like, wow, that's interesting. And your brain will be like, hey, you have so many informations that are the opposite of this. Tell them, they gotta know. They're telling you as well, very forcefully. Tell them very forcefully. And you're gonna be like, no, I will keep my info to myself. I will almost play dumb, like I don't understand politics, and be like, wow, that's interesting. So maybe you're on a right-wing spectrum, you don't like global warming, you don't like socialism, and you listen, wow, that's socialism, wow, that's interesting. Or you may be on the left spectrum and be like, capitalism is the worst thing ever, screw capitalism, it's terrible for people. And you will be like, oh wow, capitalism, that's really interesting, and maybe the other person will tell you some great facts that you don't know. Like, there's a chart somewhere that with capitalism, the poverty just declined so much since countries started employing it. Now, of course, if you would be right-wing and you were like, oh, capitalism is so great, then you listen to why capitalism is not so great without telling your opinions, almost plain dumb. Another great exposure. So these were 4 exposures, obsessions and compulsions. Now when it comes to triggers, a trigger could be any social debate about politics that could very much trigger your political OCD, and then you would want to go into your compulsions that we listed, or other ones that maybe I haven't spoken about here, but that you may be doing. So always check for yourself. You may have different symptoms from the one that I presented here, but you may still be like, this very much fits what he calls political OCD. So social discussions online about politics, about how other people should live their life, about how the world should be. And triggers would be, that's about it, I think. Or it could be read in the news and be like, oh my God, this is exactly what other people don't see, even the people writing these news maybe. This is what I gotta share with my group of friends on Facebook, online. Oh my God, they gotta be sure they know about this. It's so heavy. I'm so glad I don't do this anymore, and it made my OCD 10 times worse. If you have political OCD or signs of it, please leave me a comment down below. I'll be very interested about that. And if you like this video, please give me a subscription, because I'm gonna share many other OCD subtypes that I think are unique and that I found either within myself or with my clients as a psychologist. Guys, if you like this video, I'm very glad, and have a good one, and see you later. Peace.